Hello everyone. It's been a struggle trying to get this video recorded and out. I did not keep up on editing, and so day 5 was very delayed. I filmed it that morning, did not have time to edit. I knew the next day, I knew I was going to take a break from filming for the next day and pick it back up, and it just did not happen. Life got ridiculously busy. We had things to do at church and just different things, all excuses, but I just didn't have time to sit and film. I still did my plan. Pretty sure I posted on Instagram too, but we just didn't sit and chat. So I figured we'd sit and chat about the last 2 days, day 6 and 7, and then just go from there. I do still have my printed out sheets. I have to print out the last few. So I still just have the first three days printed, and I want to add them into my Bible. So maybe we'll do that today too. And I will add it to my website with the consumed devotional, these like verse mappings, so you guys can have them too. So let's get started. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I created the 7-day devotional. It's called Consumed. And yeah, so there's links down below. There's a whole playlist for every day. It's free. Download it. It comes with a verse, a little devotional, and some suggested further reading. So that is just what we will get into now. So let's look at day 6. And day 6 was kindling the altar. And the verse was Leviticus 6:13, and it says, "Fire shall be kept burning on the altar continually. It shall not go out." And I remember when I was looking through the verses, I actually originally had more verses to this. And then I just decided to leave it with this last verse. But the verse before, or a couple of verses before, it's constantly repeated that the fire must continue to burn. And that's kind of just what I wanted to emphasize even in this devotional, that I got cut off. I don't know what I was saying. Don't know where we were at, guys. Talking about how our fire, and when I say our fire, I mean like our action, our way of living. I don't necessarily mean like the way we feel. I don't necessarily mean being spirit filled and all that stuff. When I say our fire, I mean our desire to move forward in our Christian life and to continue to walk like Christ, and like to continue to mature and grow versus staying where we are. That's what I mean. It's not a one-time thing. Like Christ is not a one-time. It's a one-time decision, but it's not just a one-time thing where we make the decision and then we go about our lives living how we want to. It's a continuous daily decision that we have to make every day. Like, am I going to live for Christ today, or am I going to live for the world? Am I going to feed the flesh, or am I going to feed the spirit? And that's kind of what I was trying to get to, especially with these last 2 days. They're more, in my mind, they were more of not necessarily application, but getting us to think like, where are we at now in our lives? You know, this is something the priests had to do. It was very important. And it was because they were continually making sacrifices. And though we don't have to make continual sacrifices in that same sense, because Jesus was our perfect sacrifice, we are still laying down at his feet our desires, our will, the things of this world that hold a tight grip on us. We're still fireworks. We're still laying down those things. It's just a picture. Like, you can't have the New Testament without the Old. And honestly, the more that you read both, you get a better understanding of just why Jesus came and just how he truly does fulfill everything in the Old Testament. And then I also loved at the end, because I added this part. I wasn't sure if I wanted to add this to the further reading or to like the verse for the day. And it was Leviticus 9:24. And it said that let me just read it. But it's talking about how when the sacrifice was accepted by God, it would be consumed with fire. Let me read it. Leviticus 9:24. And the fire came out from before the Lord and consumed the burnt offering and the pieces of fat on the altar. When the people saw it, they shouted and fell on their faces. I added that because it's just a powerful reminder that God should consume us. We've already been accepted. Jesus made that possible. He was the perfect sacrifice in order for us to be accepted by God. With that comes God consuming us, consuming our minds, our hearts, our lives, everything that we do. We should truly be consumed by the Lord. And then for the further reading, I added Psalm 51 and 2 Chronicles 7, 1 through 3. 2 Corinthians 7, 1 through 3 says, As soon as Solomon finished his prayer, fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of the Lord filled the temple. And the priests could not enter the house of the Lord, because the glory of the Lord filled the Lord's house. When all the people of Israel saw the fire come down and the glory of the Lord on the temple, they bowed down with their faces to the ground on the pavement, and worshipped and gave thanks to the Lord, saying, For he is good, for steadfast love endures forever. Just another picture of God accepting it, and just I love that it says he filled the temple, because now we are the temple of the Holy Ghost. And the second we accept Christ, or we are indwelled with the Spirit. And I just love this because it shows like a right reaction where the people fell on their faces, they glorified and thanked God. And sometimes I know I don't have that same reaction to things, and I can be very me focused or very other people focused, and I need to be more God focused, letting him work, doing the things he has commanded me to do, being obedient to his will, and just living life to honor and glorify him. And then I did Psalm 51. If you haven't read Psalm 51, it's a great psalm. Read it. It's a great one of my favorites, so that's why I added it's there. But it's also just like David crying out to God to restore him, and to just it's a great one. Read it. As we move on to day 7, that last day, I titled it Blazing Trails, and the verse was Hebrews 11:8, and it says, By faith Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he was to receive an inheritance. He went out not knowing where he was going. I think a lot of the times, especially when this is just something I've observed, because I do it too, is when we're talking about someone. We're talking about David and how great he was, and he was a man after God's own heart, and so on and so forth. We always have to say, but he sinned, but he did X, Y, and Z. And I think there's a time and place for this, but we feel the need to constantly call out their sins, or call it out, but they weren't perfect. And I think a part of us, we all know he's not perfect, but it's almost like a way to justify ourselves, to make ourselves feel better that we ourselves aren't perfect and we make mistakes. It's like, well, this person was great, but he sinned, but he did X, Y, and Z. Same thing with Abraham. I see that all the time, where it's like, by faith, but he didn't have faith when he went with Hagar. As I was putting this together, I was thinking about, why do we do that? Because I do it too. And I think there's a time and place, especially when for application purpose or specific teaching. Like when you're looking at scripture from different points of view, I think there's a point to say, like, he disobeyed, but look at what God did. God still worked. God still worked despite us. That's one way of looking at it. But I was just thinking about it in the terms of when we're talking about when they did obey, when they did do good. We always feel the need to call out. Even a book I was reading, but it talked about, or maybe it was looking up different commentaries for Abraham. It just kept feeling the need to say, even though he didn't fully obey, but isn't it amazing how God does not see us this way? Even with David. David was anointed as king as a young man before he fully went to be a king. While he was still a shepherd boy, God anointed him and saw him as king of Israel. And isn't it beautiful that God doesn't see us by our flaws and by our mistakes and by our disobedience or half obedience or whatever? When God sees Abraham, he doesn't see him as the man who started off obeying, but then didn't obey, but then I fixed everything so that way his obedience came to fruition. No, he sees Abraham as obeyed, as faithful, because he obeyed. That made me think a lot too on how am I viewing other people? Am I quick to call out other people's sins, or am I viewing them as God has viewed them? And there is a place for as brothers and sisters in Christ where, depending on the relationship, the level of, do we call out someone else's sin, and how do we do that in a loving way, in a way that shows grace and mercy the way the Lord does it to us. With Abraham, like as I read this, it said, by faith Abraham obeyed. He did. He packed up his life and he went from comfort, from a rich area, from probably having a house and servants, and yeah, he still brought many of the things with him, but he was living in tents for years upon years upon years, and he obeyed. Even when God promised a son, he still obeyed. Sure, he may have taken things into his own hands with the help of his wife, but don't we do the same thing, thinking we are helping God when really God just wants us to depend on him fully? I feel like sometimes we think our obedience needs to be huge, but it just needs to be obedience. If God tells us to do something, it just needs to be a yes, Lord. And I think of Samuel. God called him and he just said, yes, Lord. And sometimes I wonder, like, do I have that attitude? No, I know I don't have that attitude. I know I don't have that attitude. And it's something I'm working on. But also trying to look, especially at the people in the Bible, they're in here for a reason, not just for us to learn from their mistakes, but to learn from the things that they did. Like even Paul, I think there's at one point, one of his letters, he said, like, this is the last that I will mention of this, where he says that he used to persecute Christians. Because when we think of Paul, we don't think, oh, what a murderer. We're like, wow, what a great martyr of the faith, a man of God, a man who went to all these places, preached to all these people, rebuked churches, and just loved on people and loved on everyone, just as Christ did. We're not quick to call Paul out, but we're quick to call everyone else out, I've noticed. And even when we do say, oh, well, Paul was a murderer, but we always back it up with, but look at what God did. And I think it's just a natural hypocritical nature that we all have, that I'm just noticing, even within myself, especially when I was writing this and looking at the life of Abraham, even looking into commentaries. We're really quick to call out that he messed up and that he didn't fully obey. But when God looks at him, he says, by faith, Abraham obeyed. He didn't say Abraham obeyed a little. He didn't say Abraham slightly obeyed. He didn't say Abraham messed up even though he tried to obey. He said, by faith, Abraham obeyed. And I think that's just a simple outline of how we are to live. By faith, we are to obey. No matter how that looks, because God's going to work. And we just need to keep pushing forward and keep doing the things that we need to do to glorify and honor God and just obey and live in his will and to live like him. For the further reading, I had put Matthew 14, 22 to 23. Oh, 22 to 33. I was like, 22 and 23, that's not even the whole story. 22 to 23. It's the story of when Jesus was walking on water and Peter called out. In verse 28 it says, and Peter answered him, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. He said, come. So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. And I love that because he said, Lord, if it's you, command me and I will obey. And he did. And I think this is a perfect picture of us not obeying perfectly, but God's will still being done, because it says, but when he saw the wind, Peter, he was afraid and began to sink. He cried out, Lord, save me. It's when he started focusing on everything else on the world around him going on. And he took his focus off of Jesus. But what did he do? He obeyed. Jesus said, come out into the water. And he did. And I think this gives the same energy as by faith, Abraham obeyed. Peter said, command me and I will come to you. And Jesus said, come. And Peter got out of the boat and walked on water and came to Jesus. And I think sometimes our lives are as simple as that, is asking God, like, if this is your will, command me. But we need to follow through. And Peter followed through. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a half obedience. It's just a distraction of life that sometimes will get us sinking. And when he started to sink, he said, Lord, save me. Jesus immediately reached out his hand, took hold of him, saying to him, O you of little faith, why did you doubt? And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying, Truly you are the Son of God. And it goes back to faith. Abraham, by faith, he obeyed. And when we get distracted, our faith in God truly, I think, just starts to diminish, because we start looking at the world to be our comfort, to be our satisfaction, to give us the things that only God can give us. And we're starting to put our faith in the world versus our faith in God. And that is day 7. I'm looking at the time there and how long I've been chatting for. Bible journaling is going to have to be another day. So if you guys would like to see me add these papers into my Bible and just like what I use, how I do it, let me know and we can do that together. I'm working on getting back on track, getting back on schedule, getting my life together. So I hope you guys enjoyed these 7 days, 7-ish, a little longer than 7 days if you've been waiting for the videos, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this time, and let me know if you guys want to see more things like this. If you guys like the structure of how instead of giving out some sort of reading plan that's for the month or 2 months, but if you guys like the shorter version with a devotional, it takes more time, but I think it was more fruitful. At least it was for me personally, getting into the word and stuff. So let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your thoughts are and just what you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video.